Good morning, Year 5. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're all having a lovely day. Welcome to today's English. Today, we're going to be continuing with our diary entries. So, we are going to use show, don't tell, and colloquial language to do this. How? By practicing new learning, and why? So we can write the first draft of our diary entries. So, yesterday, we wrote our first kind of intro and our first paragraph. Today, we're going to write our next two paragraphs and finish off our diaries. So, just before we start writing, we're just going to have a little bit of a warm-up and practice using the show, don't tell language, because this is something that I'd like to see in your diary entry. So we're having a little think, what do we mean by show, don't tell? Okay, so what we mean by show, don't tell is we mean that we are describing what we can see or how we feel if we are talking in first person, rather than just telling the reader, I was scared, I was happy, or I was relieved. Okay, you're kind of using the senses, you're using your sight and your smell and your kind of feelings, okay, to describe how you'd feel if you felt those emotions. So you are showing the reader, not telling the reader. So what I'd like you to have a go at doing that is you've got scared, happy, and relieved here. Can you think of 3 ways you could show me that you were scared, happy, and relieved without telling me? Have a little think and then play the video when you're ready to have a look at what I thought of. Okay. Right, hopefully then you've had a little think at how you can show, not tell the reader how you are scared. So for example, for scared, I went with, oops, let me just go on to my, there we go. Sweat beaded on my forehead, okay? So the idea, if you are scared, you might be sweating a little bit, you might be getting a bit of a dab on because you're feeling really, really worried, okay? So you might have got something similar. You might have had something about being frozen to the spot or trembling with fear or maybe shivering with fear, okay? All of those things would show the reader, not tell the reader that you were scared or the character was scared. What about happy then? So for happy, I've gone for a wide grin spread across my face. Okay, so if I'm feeling super duper happy, I'm probably going to show that on my face. Okay, I might also have a happy buzz inside of me. Okay, or I might feel full of energy. Okay, if I'm super happy. And the last one then was relieved. How might we show that we are relieved? Well, your shoulders might relax and your pulse might slow down if you were super relieved, because you might have been worried before and then you were relieved that the situation didn't turn out as badly as you thought. Okay, so this is how you might show, not tell, that you are feeling relieved or someone else is feeling relieved. Okay, so hopefully that's warmed up your brain a little bit and got you thinking about show, don't tell. What we're going to do now then is we're going to go straight into it and we're going to have a go at finishing off our writing. So in front of you, you should have your plan that looks a little bit like this. On the class story, I actually forgot to edit this, but this will look slightly different to the one on the class story. You've got a word map to help you as well, to help you kind of start off your sentences too, if you're needing a little bit of a start point. So that's what you should have in front of you. I am just going to pause so I can get my paper and my pen set up so you can do the same. You can get your diary entry from yesterday that you started and then something to write with as well, and then we'll be ready to write today. Lovely stuff. So I'm ready. I've got my pen and my paper, or whatever you are writing with. Okay, and I've got my writing from yesterday. Now you will see I've tried, but my writing from yesterday isn't the neatest. And I've got a few little bits where I've crossed out and changed my writing. That's okay, because this is our first draft. On Friday, we'll be writing our final draft. So we're thinking about how we can present it in a neater way. Okay, but for today, this is our first draft. So remember, this is all kind of a work in progress. So I've got the start of my diary. Of course, I've started with Dear Diary. Then I've got my little intro sentence. So what a week it's been. It's been a roller coaster ever since we left Moore Manolete to try and find Papa. Let me explain. Then I've got my first event. So my first event, looking at my plan, was sneaking onto the train and making it to Gallipore. So I've written, when we first set off on our journey, we snuck onto the train to Gallipore. We felt uneasy and we had butterflies in our tummies as we hid from the ticket collector. But the pounding in our chest eased when we realised we had gotten away with it. Okay, so here you can see I've used that show me, don't tell me. How thrilled we were to be on our way. Got an exclamation sentence in there. The further away the train got from Moore Manolete, the more the excitement bubbled inside of us. After a long journey through the rolling hills, we made it to Gallipore. Okay, so I've used my plan to write about my first event. You can see I've not gone into loads of detail about my event, okay, because it's a diary, not a story. I want to talk more about how I, because I am now Asha, was feeling whilst all this was happening. Okay, so now I've written my first event, I'm ready to move on to my second event. So I'm going to be using my plan, which I've got up here, to help me. Okay, and I can see my second event was coming face to face with a tiger, but then he protected us from the wolves. Okay, but before I start writing about my next event, I've kind of got to show that shift in time, haven't I? Just like we talked about last week. Because otherwise, my events will all just kind of blend into one. I've got to show here that some time has passed in between these two events. So I'm going to use my fronted adverbial to do that. Okay, so actually what I've chosen to do here, what I've written in my plan, is I've actually used two fronted adverbials. So I've written the following day. I wanted to add a little bit more detail. I wanted to not only show that time has passed, but also that kind of we've been on a long journey since then. So I've written the following day, after a long trek. Remember, I need a comma after each one said adverbial. And what happened? Well, we came face to face with the tiger, which was a bit of a disaster. Things started to go wrong, so I'm going to write disaster. Full stop. Okay, so I've used two. Oh, I'm a bit wonky. Let's put it a bit straighter. I've used two fronted adverbials here to describe that shift in time. Okay, now then I want to tell the reader a little bit more about what happened. I've told them disaster struck, but what do we mean disaster struck? So I'm going to go with coming face to face with a tiger. Now, if I was being completely grammatically correct, I'd write Jeevan and I came face to face with a tiger. But I've got to remember I'm using that colloquial tone. What would Asha really say? And she'd probably say me and Jeevan instead, wouldn't she? Okay, it's quite informal. Me and Jeevan came face to face with. Now, do I want to use an adjective to describe a tiger? Yes, I do. I'm going to describe him as a ferocious tiger. Terrifying. Creating this picture that this is a really scary situation for them to be in. Ferocious tiger, where were they? They were outside the camp. Okay, because they were camping in the woods. Full stop. Okay, now then, so I've told the reader that they came face to face with the tiger. Now I want to go, now I want to tell the reader a little bit more about how we are feeling about this. Okay, so I'm going to use a show, don't tell. So I'm going to say we were, rather than saying we were scared, I'm going to say we were frozen to spot. And what else? And our hearts pounded in our chests. Okay, I'm using a show, don't tell. I'm not saying we were scared. I'm describing to the reader how it felt for Jeevan to be so scared. Full stop. Okay, now then, so I've kind of got what happened, and then I've got kind of how they were feeling. Now, I do want to get onto this point about how he protected us from the wolves, but I want to kind of add a little bit more of a kind of how Asha and Jeevan were feeling. Okay, what were their thoughts? Next, I'm going to use my rhetorical question from my plan. And I've actually already done the hard work here because I've written my rhetorical question. Okay, and I've written how. And remembering I'm in past tense now, so I might have to change, just notice my rhetorical question isn't really in past tense. Okay, so I'm going to change it a little bit to how were we so stupid to go into the forest alone? So rhetorical question, so it needs to end in a question. Okay, so I've got the following day, after a long trek, disaster struck. Me and Jeevan came face to face with a ferocious tiger outside the camp. We were frozen to the spot and our hearts pounded in our chests. How are we so stupid to go into the forest alone? Okay, so I've got my rhetorical question, I've told the reader how I was feeling. Okay, but actually now I need to go on to the second point, which was actually that the tiger actually left us unharmed. Okay, we think that he might have been protecting us from the wolves. Okay, so I'm going to go luckily. And what kind of happened luckily? Well, the tiger eventually left us. How did he leave us? Well, he didn't harm us, so he left us unharmed. Full stop. It was a miracle. Okay, I want to create this idea that Asher and Jeevan were super duper scared. They thought that they were definitely goners. They thought the tiger was going to eat them for supper. But actually, he left them alone. Okay, I just want to add a little bit more now because actually I know that Asher and Jeevan were thinking that there's something a bit suspicious going on with this tiger. Okay, why would the tiger leave two children who could have been easily been his very tasty dinner? Why would he leave us alone? So I'm going to go for who knows. Maybe he was looking out for us all along. Full stop. They've got the following day, after a long trek, disaster struck. Me and Jeevan came face to face with a ferocious tiger outside the camp. We were frozen to the spot and our hearts pounded in our chests. How were we so stupid to go into the forest alone? Luckily, the tiger eventually left us unharmed. It was a miracle. Who knows, maybe he was looking out for us all along. Okay, so you can see I've got that informal tone. Okay, I've got a rhetorical question, I've got show, don't tell. Okay, and I'm telling the reader what happened without going into loads of detail about this interaction with the tiger. Okay, can you have a go now and write into your second paragraph, so event 2, and then come back when you're ready for your next one. Off you go. Wonderful. Right, hopefully then you guys have had a go at your second paragraph, event 2. I've done mine, so now then we're on to event 3. And we can see on our plan that before we go into event 3, we need to show that shift in time again. Okay, we need to show now that we're talking about a new time. Okay, time has passed between these two events. And my last event is actually reaching the temple. Okay, so time has definitely passed since they were in the forest with the tiger. So I'm going to start with that shift in time. Okay, so I've got on my plan after a few more, and then I was going to go days, but I've also added the adjective relentless. And what I mean by this is kind of they've been really, really tough. Okay, after a few more relentless days, comma, what happened? Well, we finally reached the peak of the mountain. And what happened when we reached the peak of the mountain? We spotted the temple. And how am I going to describe the temple? Well, the temple was a very welcome sight to Asher and Jeevan because they've been trekking for days and days to go and find it. Okay, and it's also very beautiful that we know from the book. So I'm going to describe it as glorious. The glorious temple. Full stop. Okay, actually, I'm going to put an exclamation mark. So very excited about spotting the glorious temple. I'm going to use an exclamation here as well, and I've already written one because I was thinking about what would Asher and Jeevan what would they be thinking when they reach the temple, and they'd probably think, "Oh my goodness, what a." And up to the top here. Glorious. Right. Exclamation sentence, so it needs an exclamation mark on the end. What a glorious sight. Okay, so I've told the reader what's happened. So after a few relentless days, we finally reached the peak of the mountain and we spotted the glorious temple. In fact, I've just realised what I've done. I've used the same words twice, haven't I? Because I've said we spotted the glorious temple, and then I said what a glorious sight. So I'm just going to change that word. Okay, I'm going to change it to incredible, because I don't really want to be repeating the same word over and over again. That doesn't make great writing. Okay, so you can see I've realised that I made a bit of a mistake. I've just crossed it out and I've changed it. Okay, so now then I've said that Asher and Jeevan have spotted the temple. Now I want to tell the reader a little bit about how they were feeling. I'm going to use one of my favourite phrases. We were over the moon. Because we had made it. Full stop. Okay. Now then, I have got one little extra bit to do, and I kind of want to do an if then, because I do like an if then. So I'm thinking about what might happen next then. So what are Asher and Jeevan thinking? Well, they remember in the story, what did they go there to do? They went to do the blessing. Then they had to set off again to go and find their dad in Vandapur, and then they were hoping that they'd be able to bring Pa back in time for Diwali. Okay, so I'm going to use an if then. If we can, or what were they planning on doing? Carrying out the blessings. Now I need another if. What do we need to do next? If we leave for Vandapur by morning, I must have done if we can carry out the blessings, if we leave for Vandapur by morning, then I need a then, don't I? Okay, then we might be able to find Pa, I need a capital letter, in time for Diwali. Remember that Diwali also needs a capital letter, and it's also spelled with a W instead of a V. Full stop. Okay, so I've got my event thing now, and I've used an if then. If we can carry out the blessings, if we leave for Vandapur by morning, then we might be able to find Pa in time for Diwali. You can sense in the sentence kind of the excitement that Asher and Jeevan are feeling. Can you have a go now then at writing your event 3, and then you can come back, and then we're just going to finish off our diary entries with our colloquial ending, and then we'll be all done. Okay, so go and have a go at writing event 3 for me, please, and then come back when you're ready. Wonderful. So I've now written them. Let me just flick back over. I've got Dear Diary. I've got my colloquial intro. I've got event 1, 2, and 3. All kind of incorporating those features of colloquial language and show, don't tell. And now then I've just got to sign off my diary. Okay, so I've actually already written a sign off here. I've written, I'll update you next week, speak soon in my plan. Okay, I might want to tweak that a little bit though, actually, because actually I think I want to say that they're feeling quite optimistic. Okay, so to sign off, I'm going to say, hopefully, our good luck continues. Then I'm going to sign off like Asher would. Speak soon, Asher. Okay, and there then we are all finished. Okay, we've signed off our diary. Hopefully our good luck continues. Speak soon, Asher. We're following with that colloquial tone. Okay, it's quite informal and it's quite chatty. Wonderful. That is going to be everything for today. Please take a picture of your diary and send it to us so we can give you a little bit of feedback. Tomorrow we are going to be editing, and then Thursday we are going to be writing our final draft. Okay, so that is what we are going to be doing for the rest of the week. So by the end of the week, we'll have our diary, which has been up-leveled and improved and finally presented beautifully. Okay, so you're going to have a beautiful piece of writing to end this half term on. Don't forget to send us your pictures so we can give you some feedback, and we will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.